Is it recording? Yeah, it's recording. So let's just play some Mountain Blade. And I'm still alive, unfortunately. Isn't that always fun? So, E3 is happening. I watched the EA press conference. I caught the end of it, and I gotta say, it was pretty interesting. They showed stuff about Star Wars, of course. They showed stuff about Battlefield. They even had a full stream of Battlefield 1 going, which I watched, and it was awesome. So come again. So you once again come at me. Yeah, I'm just gonna kill these people. No, I wanted to. Oh, he's my friend? What? No, what kind of friends? Okay, yeah, but there was a lot of stuff about EA. EA had a semi-decent press conference. I mean, everything that was at the press conference was mostly sports related, but EA has always been a sports developer, like from the beginning. One of the first games they made was Madden or something, so I don't really expect why people think there was going to be anything. Why there was going to be anything more? I mean, I guess it's because that with a lot of recent leaks, thanks to EA, there have been talks about new Battlefront. Definitely talks about Battlefield 1 and things like that. It all makes sense, and I really cannot wait to see. How much fun Battlefield 1 is, because I'm someone who really enjoyed Battlefield 4. At least since I got into it thanks to my EA Access thing that I got free with when I bought my Xbox One. So I wouldn't call myself a fan of EA because they do a lot of fucked up shit, but I would call myself someone who kind of respects them, because I must admit I've played a lot of EA games, and every game they've basically produced was pretty decent. I mean, except for Battlefront, but it was an EA Battlefront game. This is what I'm talking about. EA can produce some good things. Despite what people say about Battlefront, it does look like a fun game, and it does look like a decent Star Wars game, because it has that aesthetic, it has the look of Star Wars, but just because there's no space battles, there's no hero modes, or whatever the fuck was in Battlefield 1, people see it as a lesser product, when in reality, no, they were just working with what they got. But now I'm defending Battlefield, or Battlefront, when I really should be talking about Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1, they showed a lot of gameplay from that. They had 3 rounds of Conquest going that they had a lot of YouTubers playing. They even had Snoop Dogg, which I found pretty awesome. But yeah, Battlefield 1 looks pretty goddamn awesome, and from the gameplay they have shown, and from the trailers, it looks like it's going to be an extremely cinematic game. And it should be. I mean, no one really knew that much about World War One. Yeah, no one really knew about World War One, so this is kind of an interesting take on it, and it should show how fun it's gonna be. Sorry, oh yeah, I should mention that I finally got Bandicam, like an actual decent version of it that I don't gotta stop every 10 minutes. What? I didn't mean to do that. Oh god. I started another war. You know, the thing is that I thought me and the Nords were cool. Me and this Nord are cool, but now he's following me. No, it's the green guys who hate me. Right. How much soldiers do I have? I can kill him. But yeah, Battlefront 1 looks goddamn awesome. I mean, it's a battlefield game in World War 1. Yeah, it's a battlefield game in World War 1, and it's definitely a war that has not been looked at, and has not been really and has not really been a major product of these big game developers. Sure, you've had a few games where, like, World War One was the process, but you never really had a game that was around World War One. You never had a game centered on it, which is understandable. I mean, World War One was a big conflict in many rights, and it is one that should be acknowledged at least every once in a while. Because if we don't acknowledge World War One, then people will forget it, and then people will start questioning whether or not it's real, because that's just how society works. And no, don't mount. Mount. But yeah, that's just how. But yeah, we've never really had a Battlefield game set in World Wars. We've had a Battlefield 1943, which was set in World War II, but there were such little maps on that. And it was more of like an arcade shooter, but set in the Battlefield engine. I don't really know if we could call it a full World War II game. I call it a World War II arcade shooter because of the way it was presented, the way it was released, and how it actually plays out. But yeah, Battlefield 1943, which was released in like 2010 or something, is really one of the only games that, and I might be wrong, and I know I'm wrong. What I'm really trying to say is that there's not a lot of Battlefield. There's not a lot of current looking Battlefield World War II games. Like, sure, you have games where you fight Nazis, but fighting Nazis has become such a trope in video games. It is now pretty much a cliche. And when people talk about, basically there needs to be more World War II games, like from the people who make the Battlefield games, EA and them. Yeah, you have fought well, you are free to go. I'm sorry, I love Mountain Blade. It's one of my favorite games ever. And I think it always will be. So, yeah, but there hasn't really been a lot of games set in the period of World War One, and I can understand why. You have to really look at World War One to sort of understand why people are interested in it. Oh my, okay, these are my, okay, yeah, I got distracted there. But yeah, I'm super excited for Battlefield 1, especially from the gameplay footage I've seen and the stream that was thankfully put up. But yeah, that's just the end of the conference that I caught. I didn't get to watch the full conference, but from what I heard, from hearsay, from my friends and that, to people who watched the actual press conference, it was mostly sports games and that, which I can understand. I mean, EA was a company that made sports games, so I can understand why they wanted to do that, and I can understand why they had this enthusiasm when showing off some of these games. But as a gamer who likes shooting things and likes watching people die, sports games are not for me, but I can understand the appeal. But that is why I want to play Battlefield 1. From what they showed off, it looked interesting. They showed one map with a blimp in the middle, and my people are starving. But yeah, they showed one map with a blimp in the middle that got shot down every fucking fight. But it showed off how well the game was made. It's still a Battlefield game, but it's set in the time period of World War One, which really needed to be done. And they've added a whole lot of new features and some old features, but some new features which I have caught wind of were being able to charge at doors and break them down instead of having to knife doors open, which always was a bitch. They have weather dynamics, like weather will change during the type of day and things like that. Just all these little intricate things that really needed to be put into a Battlefield game, and sort of bringing over things from Battlefield 4, such as weather dynamics with some of the maps. Of course they have destructible environments because it's it's dice and I mean, they're sort of people who have relished in destructible environments, and that's a good thing to see, that they're still that they're still keeping that destructibility. Oh my god, there's barely any food to buy. But yeah, it's always nice to see that they're sticking to what they know, that they're sticking to things that they know people wanted. Like everyone wanted a lot of people wanted a Battlefield World War I game, because it's such an interesting battle. We barely know anything about it because of history and how it was written by the victors and things. But it's an interesting time period to actually go back and play in. I mean, we've experienced World War I and II. We've experienced World War II to fucking beat hell. So much so that fighting oh my god, 37, whatever. So much so that fighting Nazis has become really boring in a lot of people's eyes, and really demeaning in some Nazis and really demeaning to actual German people. Because as everyone knows, Nazis are just a part of a Reich, and getting into that conversation is something I don't want to get into, because there are a lot of people who just see Nazis as evil people, and it's understandable. But you got to remember that we bombed Hiroshima, and a whole lot of other shit happened that really doesn't make us look good, but it really sets a standard to why these wars are still okay, I lost my train of thought, and this is a stupid conversation I don't want to get into, and we're actually at 12 minutes. So yeah, as I said, they showed off a lot of stuff at this EA press conference, a lot of things that a lot of people wanted to see. I mainly just watched because I wanted to watch because I wanted to see the EA stuff, the Battlefield stuff. You know how it is. But yeah, I just wanted to see the EA stuff, and sorry if I'm getting distracted. This actually is a big battle I'm trying to fucking win. But yeah, it makes sense that... I keep talking about Battlefield 1 because it's the only thing I fucking watched from the EA press conference. But they had a lot of stuff. They were talking about football games, which I'm not a fan of. Like how this new football game has a story, because apparently not all football games had a story. I mean, I thought the career path was a story, like that was your story. You're creating a team, and like I don't know. I always saw the career path as a story, and I can understand that. Yes, they wanted to add a story, but the way they introduced it was goddamn weird. They had this dude come out on stage and would just be like, "Hey guys, this is my game and I'm the main character," which apparently he was, but he's also an actor, which was really weird to have an actor at an E3 press conference. Oh god, this might not end well. But yeah, it was intriguing to see that how they announced that FIFA game, if it even is a FIFA game. They had an actor come out and just be like, "This is my game, I'm the main character." And they also showed off a new indie game like they did last year with Unraveled, a game called Faye, which looks freaking beautiful. Sorry, I'm concentrating. Win, my men, win. Retreat. Your casualties to Sweden. Tell me we took out a lot of them. 34 to 55. Fuck. Leave. Gotta give the guy credit for letting me fucking leave. But I do have a good relation with him. We're like bros. He's like, "Okay, I murdered most of your men. I'm not gonna murder the rest. Get the fuck out of here." So that makes sense. But yeah, they showed off a lot of. They did what they did, I think, last year, where they had the developer of the game come out and talk about it, because the dude seriously had stage fright. You could see it in his eyes. But it was humbling to see a game developer come out and talk about something he loved. And you barely get to see that now, because most game developers do have a person over their shoulder being like, change this, change this, change this, change this. And not many game developers now are sort of allowed to make what they want. They're forced to make what will sell more. But that's the joys of this entire E3 event, which might be dying soon because barely anyone's going to them. Companies are basically abandoning E3 to go and create their own thing, which is understandable. Nobody wants to go to a press conference for the press and game journalists. Most of the game developers want to make these things for the fans, for people like me who do enjoy these games. And not for people who are just there to play a game that they barely like, just because they got an invitation to E3. Yeah. If I could go to E3 one year, that would be my dream. I could die happy, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon, especially with the idea that E3 is going to fail soon. But yeah, the Bethesda press conference is going to come on soon, and I may talk about that, but I'm not quite sure. Because Bethesda has always had some good press conferences. I mean, last year they talked about Fallout 4 and Doom. So yeah, the Bethesda press conferences are always good. We can only imagine what they're gonna produce this year. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, thanks for watching. If not, whatever. It's just me talking about the current E3 stuff going on, and I may do more coverage of this soon, depending on how this video does. Actually, no, scratch that. I'm just going to keep doing these little press conferences shows where I'm talking about what I saw and how I feel about it, because E3 is something I've always been interested in it. Well, not always. I got into E3 as, like, around Dark Souls 3 was announced at that E3. That's when I started getting into it. So yeah, I may make more videos like this where I talk about E3, or I may just make this part of an entire collaboration where I'm just talking about the press conferences after I see them. But we'll see when I decide to upload this or something. But yeah, thanks for watching. Alright, it looks like it's recording, so let's talk about some more E3 stuff. I watched Bethesda conference. The Bethesda conference, the before E3 thing, or the BE3 on Twitter if you want to call it that. But yeah, not compared to last year where they announced Fallout 4, Fallout Shelter, Doom. This year was not good. I mean, they did release some new IPs and new games. They announced Dishonored 2 and they announced Dishonored 2 and go down. Okay, so they announced Dishonored 2 and Quake Champions and a whole bunch of DLC for Fallout and a new Elder Scrolls game called Elder Scrolls Legends, which is a card game, and as I said, a lot of DLC for Fallout 4 and Quake Champions. Let's start out with the first thing, Quake Champions. Quake Champions was the first thing to be shown at the Bethesda conference, and it looks like a hero shooter. What's a hero shooter? Think of Overwatch or Team Fortress 2, where you play a specific hero to take out the other team, and everyone has their own parts to play and things like that. It's called Quake Champions, and that's where a lot of these people get this hero-based MOBA, whatever the fuck you want to call it, mentality from, because it does look like it will be one of those, a MOBA or a hero shooter. And considering the way the first couple of Quakes went, I don't know how to feel about this. I've played a few of the old Quakes and they were fantastic. Some of the best online shooters I've ever played on a PC. But Quake Champions, it's hard to get a read on it because it was such a short trailer, but it did look like it was a hero shooter. There was it looked like one. That doesn't mean it's going to be one, and I sure as hell hope it's not, because we don't need any more hero shooters on MOBA based gameplay games. So that's the first part of Bethesda's BE3 thing, and what they showed next was Fallout 4 stuff. They announced some DLC for Fallout 4, one that takes place in a theme park, Nuka World, one where you build your own vault, and I'm pretty sure there was another one, but I forgot it. And they also talked about a card game, the Elder Scrolls, the Elder Scrolls Legends, which is a sort of a card game where you have to place cards on a field and yada yada yada. I don't give a shit about it. I don't give a shit about it. Then they showed this trailer, this new game that they are releasing, and all I can say is, when I heard the title, all I felt was disgust, and I felt hurt. What they're releasing is Prey. Now, give me a second here, because I have something to show you. That's not it. This is fucking Prey. This was released in this was released this was an Xbox exclusive, to tell you the truth. This was an Xbox 360. This was an Xbox 360 release, and I'm pretty sure it was one of the first games released on the 360, because I remember buying this game when I was younger. And if you know how this game ends, you know why I'm mad that there is a new Prey game out. And from what they showed, it looks fucking fantastic, but it doesn't look like it's related to this. Look at some of this fucking imagery. There's a giant thing. This is like Turok on fucking drugs. This was such an innovation when it came out. It was fantastic. I want to go on a rant here because I was sad. What I saw hurt me, and that's not cool. So, Quake, Prey, all they showed was a cinematic. It was, from what I could tell, it was some dude waking up over and over again, and the last time he woke up in what appeared to be a testing facility, and in this testing facility they did certain things. They were testing how people fought against monsters or something. And some of the monsters, some of the monsters in this trailer did not even look close to fucking this. They did not even acknowledge this. And was this even made by Bethesda? No, this was made by 2K, Venom, and 3D Realms. But when you name a game Prey, and don't even call it and it's not a sequel. It's not related to this game. You got to make that known. But from what I saw, it looked like a few other games I've heard about in the past were put together to make this new Prey. Now the reason I say that is because the monsters in this game looked like they were taken from a game I saw a couple years back, where you were playing this CIA guy who went in, this CIA guy in like the 1940s, going around killing ink blobs, like they were ink monsters taking over the country or something. That's what the monsters look like in Prey, in this 2016 Prey. And if you aren't gonna make it a sequel, could you at least call it something different? Because when I hear Prey, I think of this Prey. Now, they said it was an entirely new game. Now, whether or not that means it's an entirely new IP is kind of hard to gather, because these conferences, they don't really put out much information. At least not the kind of information that is demanded by gamers like me, by people who want to know what the fuck this game is and why it's being made. This Prey game looks like it doesn't take. This Prey game looks like it might take part in this Prey, but I don't know. I think of Prey. I think of that Prey, where you play an Indian who was abducted and now fights on an alien spaceship. And this game does look like it takes place in the future with aliens and all that, but like I said, it doesn't look like it's part of this Prey. And if that's the case, then why call it Prey? Especially when you know that so many people were asking for a sequel to this. If this is a sequel to Prey, they could at least tell us it is by putting this eagle on there or something, by putting the logo, by saying what's his name's back. But no, they showed someone named Marston waking up over and over again, and every time he woke up his eye got bloodier, and that was the gimmick of the trailer, is that it was a looper type thing, or a looper type thing, where every cycle he would wake up, do the same thing, and it was the same thing. He would wake up, do the same thing over and over again, and it's hard to, you can't tell from, you can't, and it just looked like it looked like an entirely new game, and if it is, I'm completely fine with that. But the name Prey, and it did look like it took some. The thing is that it looked like a Prey game, and I don't think it. If it is, I'm gonna be kind of sad, because I wanted a sequel, not a new game or a reimagining of the Prey world. I wanted a sequel to this game, because this game was fucking dark, brutal, and it introduced a lot of interesting aspects. But we got this Prey, and yeah, and then they ended it with Dishonored 2. Not a strong ending for me. I never liked the Dishonored game. Even though I do own Dishonored, I never was a fan of it. But I can understand why some people like it. But, that just grinded my gears when I saw that Prey logo. It hurt. But yeah, they showed Dishonored 2. It looks fan-fucking-tastic, I'll say that. Like, if I was a Dishonored fan, I'd be hyped. Especially with all the especially with all the cool powers they showed off that the two main characters get, and you can choose between the two main characters, whether you could play as Corvo, the main character of the first one, or Emily, who I have no idea who the fuck Emily is. I'll say that right now. But yeah, it looks like you can play as these two main characters, and each of them have their own powers and things they can do, and yada yada yada. But yeah, and that was the BE3 conference before E3, Bethesda's E3, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But yeah, that was their conference, and as I said, it was not a big thing for me, because the only things I really cared about, the only things I really cared about was the Fallout 4 DLC, because I own Fallout 4. Quake Champions, because Quake was always such a fun game back in the day. And I guess Dishonored 2, I may pick it up, but like I said, I'm not a big fan of it. And maybe this Prey game, but yeah, it's a hard sell for me. But yeah, it's a hard sell for me that this new Prey game might not even be involved in the first Prey. And if that's true, because it's being made by Bethesda, then I would like a little warning, like, or at least saying this is not related to Prey, even though it's named Prey. And you can see why I'm getting so bothered by this, because Prey was a fun game, one of my favorite Xbox 360 games. But that new Prey just looks awesome. I mean, it's a horror game, it's a shooter game, and it's a survival horror shooter game, which I've always been a fan of. I mean, Dead Space was a fun game, so was Prey. That's sort of a survival horror, but it takes more into the shooter parts later. But you can see why, like, everyone, when they saw Prey, because I was watching the stream, everyone was excited. I was excited. But I was also a bit let down because of the way it was shown off. Like, I wanted a sequel to Prey, not a whatever this is. But it's understandable why someone would enjoy this, and I don't think I'm going to enjoy it, but I guess we'll have to wait and see, because so far it's just an announcement. But yeah, that was the Bethesda conference. They talked about Quake Champions, which is going to be talked about more at QuakeCon. The Elder Scrolls Legends, which is a card game. Fallout 4 DLC. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, they talked about Fallout 4 DLC, which there's actually quite a bit of it coming out. 3 DLC packs, if I remember correctly. And Fallout 4 DLC. There was more stuff they talked about, but seeing that pre-trailer really got me bothered. So yeah, there was a pre-trailer. There was the pre-trailer, and I'm pretty sure that was it, but I might be wrong. And please don't be mad if I am wrong, because like I said, when I saw that pre-trailer, it bothered me and it baffled me. But yeah, that was the Battlefield, or the Bethesda conference, and E3 is coming up within a few days, maybe tomorrow even. I kind of forgot the dates. But yeah, E3 is coming up, the Electronic Arts Expo, and if you want to go watch, and I'm going to be watching it, because I've always been a fan of E3, as I said recently. So yeah, I may bring you coverage on it, but I may not. It all depends on how my internet acts, if I'm even allowed to watch conferences and whatnot. But yeah, this is just more or less me being like, yeah, this shit's happening and I don't know why. But yeah, that's the E3 conference and Bethesda. Those are the main things I wanted to talk about, because those are the things I watched today. And yeah, if you're watching this, thanks for watching, and I'm sorry things came up at the bottom left of the screen, and yeah. So yeah, thanks for watching, and bye. I'll see you guys after E3, hopefully.